This may or may not be my penultimate review on The Last of Us the TV show. We shall see what happens with episode 3. For now, let's talk about episode 2, starting with non-spoilers, which shouldn't take long as there's not a lot we can talk about without going into details. In short, this is The Last of Us Season 2's Long Night episode. Quite a surprise it happened this early, really. The action had its good points and its bad points, but overall, I enjoyed the action. Beyond the battle, we get some development between Ellie and Joel, despite getting very little screen time between them. More mechanics are introduced for the zombies, specifically to do with the snow, which comes into play, as you might imagine. And we see more of the randoms from the start and end of episode 1, who start episode 2 trying to work out how to get into the town of Jackson. We also get some more information on the psychiatrist's husband, which is an odd consistency, especially since we still haven't got the full story as to what happened to him yet. That might come into play more when... Alright, spoilerific deets then. The opening plays out a lot like the game, with Jesse teasing Ellie about kissing Dina, then taking her to see Mr. Bigot. Except he's not called a bigot in the show, and Ellie doesn't call his apology snack a bigot sandwich. Thank Yog for that. Ellie still gives him the cold shoulder, so that's consistent both in adaptation and in character. It shows teenage Ellie is still a bit of a git at this point, and doesn't hand out forgiveness easily. I wonder if that's building up to something. Oh, that bit about developing Joel and Ellie's relationship? That happens on the way to getting the sandwich. Ellie gets annoyed at Jesse because he teased her about Joel like it's the millionth time it's happened, only for Ellie to take a breath and state their relationship like an adult. The frustration, the blunt, exasperated exposition, all very well done and relatable for what is a brief moment in this story. She essentially says the two of them are cool, and even describes wanting to go on the Joel patrol as a father-daughter thing. Unfortunately for her, and us, Jesse says it already left with Dina. Dina, the girl Joel felt had taken Ellie's place in his life, has now actually taken Ellie's place at his side. In the show, we can clearly see the regret on Ellie's face when she hears this news. I wonder if that's building up to something. Ellie goes on patrol with Jesse instead, and they end up taking cover from a storm in a deserted building, filled with weed. Turns out it was grown by the husband of the psychiatrist, which was set up in episode 1, funnily enough. The discovery is used to talk about the husband more, how he was a cool guy, how sad it was Joel had to kill him, and we end the scene with Ellie looking regretful. I wonder if that's building up to something. The last scene in this place comes when a radio call states Joel is missing, so Ellie and Jesse go looking for him. While all this is happening, the town of Jackson gets attacked. The roots from episode 1 get removed from the underground pipe, and that's when people notice they are alive and wriggling. Too late, a horde of zombies comes a-running, and we get to see Jackson defend itself. And yes, they do defend themselves far better than the idiots in the Game of Thrones. Mostly. Positives first. They throw out metal ramps at the top of their walls, and at first I thought they were spikes, meant to prevent zombies piling up and over World War Z style. But then they use them to roll barrels of petrol over onto the zombies and set them on fire. nicely done. Again, better than the Alarm Night. What happens after the initial charge, however, I'm not so fond of. I don't know if it was an editing cock-up or what, but Tommy calls out a breach in the wall before there's a breach in the wall. He sees the bloater coming, but there's no way he knew it was going to break through the wall then. That cock-up aside, Tommy and some other guys stand in the middle of the main street before an onrushing horde of zombies with flamethrowers. This is after having seen said horde run through a wall of fire without stopping. They were on fire, yes, but not stopping. At any rate, things go to shit as zombies enter buildings and attack defenders, leading to dogs being released to aid the defense. Question: can dogs become zombies? I think it's important considering we see dogs biting zombies. Would be a shame if all those good boys got old yellowed after the battle. Somehow, and for some reason, Tommy lures the bloater away from the crowd and takes it on one-on-one. How he didn't attract others with him, I have no idea, but anyway. This leads to a very weird situation where Tommy survives by the skin of his teeth in an oddly isolated fight with no stakes other than Tommy's life in the midst of a full-scale battle for the entire town and its people. The battle ends with a town full of the dead, human and zombies alike, with more being added as people accept their fates. All in all, cool looking fight, but it has quite a few problems. It also serves to, well, let's get to that, shall we? Abby and Co arrive outside Jackson at the end of episode 1, and in the daylight of episode 2, realise the insurmountable odds they face getting into the fortified town. Abby goes to take watch and her friends, reluctant to hurt or kill anyone, discuss going home instead of finding Joel. Abby, outside in the freezing weather, is about to give up and go back to her friends when she hears horses. Deliberately unfortunate coincidence number 1. Abby goes chasing after the horse riding patrol, only to awaken a horde of zombies who are hiding in the snow. Deliberately unfortunate coincidence number 2. This was set up earlier in the episode, and it's telling that we are 2 for 2 for episodes introducing new zombie mechanics. It's getting less well planned and executed, and more random and convenient. Speaking of which, just like in the game, Abby running from the zombies is saved by Joel. The scene is just as claustrophobic as in the game, and the Joel Ex Machina just as much a saving grace. It's done better in the show for sure, as Abby was chasing Joel to this place, rather than both of them just happening to end up in the same random spot at the same random time. Now you might be thinking at this point, we haven't heard much from Joel in this episode. You wouldn't be the only one. We hear a lot of references to him, but not anything from him, unlike in episode 1. Joel does finally turn up as a human being, but even so, we will still not be hearing much from him, despite everything. As Joel takes Abby to safety, Dina calls out Joel's name, alerting Abby to the fact that the man who saved her is the man she's come to kill. Deliberately unfortunate coincidence number 3. Just like in the game, Joel is convinced to go to Abby's friends, despite being on bloody horses and being more than capable of outrunning zombies. As they are running to Abby's friends, the roots are discovered in Jackson, and the zombie horde about turn and head for town. So of course Joel turns around and races them home. Or, well, no, he doesn't. In fact, Joel doesn't seem to notice the zombies aren't following him until after Jackson is on fire, which is a hell of a long time to be running from nothing. To be clear, the zombies turn around, run down a mountainside, along a valley, turn up at Jackson, begin their attack, have barrels thrown at them, and are then set on fire before Joel notices they are gone. Worse, when Joel sees the flames and wants to go back to town to help fight, Abby says to go to her friends because they have guns and can help. Yeah, the overly cautious, xenophobic to anyone outside of town Joel would be more than happy to go meet random armed strangers. Sure, show. Sure. Incidentally, the Battle of Jackson prevents Tommy from leaving to go find Joel. It also acts as a distraction for Joel when he arrives at the ski lodge Abby's friends are at, meaning he's too busy radioing Tommy to hear them preparing to kill him. Oh yeah, in case you didn't know, this is where Joel dies. It must be said I was originally favourable towards the show's portrayal of Joel's death, but after having time to think about this episode, this moment and the events leading up to it have soured considerably. Joel helps Dina into a room full of strangers and hands her off to them without much of a care. Then he turns his back on them to stare out a window at Jackson while using his radio. Death to all around him. This could be excused, maybe possibly, because Joel has been concerned for the town of Jackson and his brother Tommy the whole way here. Not enough to stop him running away from town despite having no zombies behind him, but whatever. The group pulls guns on him, and they drug Dina so she falls asleep. This leaves Abby to exposit her reason for coming to kill Joel, which involves shooting him in the leg. This is where we find out that Abby's dad was the doctor Joel killed when he was saving Ellie from being chopped up. At the start of episode 1, some 5 years prior to this moment, Abby said she was going to kill Joel, slowly, in revenge for this act. And she does, grabbing the golf club to beat on the shotgun wound in Joel's leg, then punching him so hard Ellie hears the blows through the floor when she enters the building. Then Abby finishes Joel off with what looks like an ice pick. Ellie enters the room just in time to witness Joel's death and threatens everyone in the room. And throughout the whole scene, Joel barely says a word. He probably makes a half dozen utterances in the whole episode, and the most he says is his last line.
Oh, it's funny. I have waited so...
Just shut the fuck up and do it already!
The last time we saw Joel at gunpoint, he was, as described by Ellie, a bit of a dick about it. This time, he acts quite feebly and even sounds pathetic when he says, "I saved you," to Abby just before she shoots him. He makes absolutely no attempt to defend himself or his actions, even when Abby describes her dad as defenseless when he absolutely wasn't. He brought a knife to a gunfight, sure, but he wasn't defenseless. Nor does Joel try to play on Abby's friends' complaints when Abby threatens Dina's life. So much could have been done with this scene, and should have been done with this scene. Joel should have said more, done more. Hell, he should have put his bloody hands down when he realised what was happening here. This scene played out better than in the game, but not by much, and in some cases, worse. I mentioned conveniences earlier. The game had a lot of them leading up to Joel's death, with 2 significant anti-character choices. One being Joel and Tommy choosing to listen to Abby and go meet her friends, and the other being Joel and Tommy being so incredibly happy-go-jolly with said strangers to the point they give their names away. That's actually one thing I think works better in the show. Dina would be more panicky than the strong, capable and experienced gunman Tommy, so it makes sense she would call Joel's name out in a tense situation. It also removes a significant barrier to belief in that there's no longer said strong, capable and experienced gunman in the room with Joel when shit hits the fan. At the same time, adding Dina to the scene, who Joel considers almost as much a daughter as Ellie at this point, means Joel should be on high alert protective mode. Not, here, take this vulnerable girl out of my hands mode. And this is where the show differs the most from the game, and in the worst possible way. The coincidences are more numerous, but deliberately so. But so too are the questionable, bad and simply uncharacteristic character choices. The decision to go to the lodge in the game was made because of the zombies and the blizzard. In the show it's just the zombies, and they turn around moments after the chase begins, meaning Joel had all the opportunity to stop, think and go back to Jackson. Worse, the battle, cool to watch despite its flaws, is poisoned by the fact it was used as an excuse to distract Joel at the worst time. It's still a better character choice than Joel wandering into the middle of a room in the game. And Abby talking to Joel before killing him is better than not talking at all, but as mentioned, Joel could have talked as well. What makes me laugh is making Abby not a muscle mummy actually causes an issue. Let's face it, Joel could have overpowered Abby. Oh, but her friends have guns on him. I know, and so did Joel, who was being slowly pummeled to death. Don't you think he would rather be shot quickly trying to fight back than die slowly and painfully laying on the floor? A great idea would have been to have Joel use Abby as a meat shield, have a standoff where the friends hold Dina hostage, but they all know they don't want to hurt her. Then Ellie turns up, someone points a gun at her, Joel charges forward to save her, and bang, he's dead. But no, they went with the slow, wordless, painful, bludgeoning death. And the fact it's barely that much different from the game tells us everything we need to know. Episode 1 of Season 2 of The Last of Us gave me hope that the show would put right a lot of the wrongs of the game. They gave Joel, the character audiences had spent a lot of time with in Season 1, more time on screen for people to appreciate before being offed. But only for one episode. They put those flashback scenes from late in the game early in the season, before Joel's death. But only some of them, with a lot more still missing. And somehow they've added more. They lead up to Joel's death more, but some things like the nephew play shooting him and the psychiatrist rant are sus, to say the least. More on them once episode 3 is out. And last but not least, they should have made Joel's death make more sense, which technically they did, but not by much. Joel still felt left out of a lot of what was going on, still didn't have much to say, and still went out like Lenny rather than Leonidas. What gets me is that a lot of what was introduced into the events surrounding Joel's death felt like they were copied from reviews and critiques of the game. And that makes me wonder a lot. Season 1 clearly showed a lot of promise and goodwill that changes could be made to the story in positive ways and just in pure and simple different ways. Episode 1 of Season 2 suggested more changes, then despite them went headlong into the same bloody black pit. Joel's death is the point around which the story of Part 2 turns around. But bloody hell, they could have done it far differently. They could have done it much later too. Hell, they didn't even need to kill him. But despite, or even in spite of everything, we're back in the same position. Joel's death was painful on so many levels and made very little sense. Ellie has no idea why Joel died or who Abby and her friends are. Abby and her friends don't know or care who Eddie is. And all logic suggests there's no way for Ellie to find them. They are going to have to pull something out of their asses to make this work in episode 3. But like I said, my next video review of The Last of Us might be my last. We shall have to wait and see. Last but not least, thank you for watching.